Hello, Ken. I'm delighted to be having a third chat with your good self, joined with Steve Evans this time.
It was a
Hi,
pleasure.
Ken.
Hey, Steve, good to meet you, and good to see you
Yeah,
again.
good to meet you. Finally, I don't know what happened last time. I think I missed the chat with you. I think
You're
I
on
was
holiday, I
ill. I
think.
can't remember.
You were on
I was
holiday, I think, Steve.
Probably. I was
Yeah.
probably on holiday, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, I'm here this time, and we're talking to you from Vancouver. You're the other side of Canada from where I'm watching on my screen to the left, which is the Canadian Grand Prix on at the moment. Practice session 3 is on that. However, conveniently enough, there's been a red flag, so it's been abandoned for the time being. So that's perfect timing. Right, okay. So what's your weather like today? Is it nice and hot there? Vancouver, from experience, was always lovely and hot.
It has been great. We had early spring. The sun came out over a month ago, like in beginning of May, and it's been sweltering. But now we're having a few days of cool down, a little bit of drizzle, which will help all the forest fires that are, destroying our north. So I'll take it.
Yeah. We've had a really, really pretty hot week or so, haven't we, Terry? But it's cooled down a touch now, expecting thunderstorms tomorrow. But anyway, enough about us. Tell us a little bit about your hobbies that you do outside of writing. And I mean, on your website, it says you're into doing a bit of painting. You're a blogger and a member of the UBCP. Is that the Union of British Columbia Performers? Tell us, have I got that right? And what activities is that about?
Well, it's an affiliate of ACTRA. That's the Academy of Canadian Television and Radio Actors, or something like that. I do paint. There is a painting right behind me, up there, that one.
Yeah.
So I dabble in painting. I blog, but not much because I'm really lazy. And as for the UBCP, that is way back in my 20s. I spent a couple of years as working as a background actor, or what we used to call a movie extra or film extra, or simply atmosphere. It's the people in the back of the restaurant while the stars are eating, so they're not sitting in an empty restaurant, if you know what I mean. And I do that. I was thinking back fondly on that because I really enjoyed it. And so a couple of years ago, I thought, why not? So I joined up again, called my old agency. They're still in business. They welcomed me back with open arms. And so I do nerd things. I do things that feed the nerd in me. So like there was Devil in Ohio. It was based on a book. I had read the book. I had to do it. It was about Satan worshipers. So I got to run through the woods in a black robe and hood. Dead Boy Detectives. That's from a comic book. Superman and Lois. I've been on that a few times. The last one just aired a few weeks ago, where I was one of Boss Moxie's henchmen. So I was lobster. So it's a lot of fun when I do it. I pick and choose, just get my geek in, as it were.
Excellent. That explains your blurb on I was reading before about being an unapologetic nerd and committed beer enthusiast.
That too, yes. They go well together, though.
Ken, I was going to mention that before we go on to your writing, just going back a step, are those terrible fires, are they still ongoing in Canada? I read about someone on a New York show, and they had to stop the show because she had difficulty breathing because the smoke was coming down.
Yeah, it's not as bad. It really started on the East Coast in Nova Scotia, and that's where the worst of it came. Then Quebec started burning. Yeah. So that's what went down the entire East Coast of the States. We have fires here. There's fires in Alberta. Yeah. It's the worst fire season in history. I think more has burned so far, like up to the beginning of June, than our usual average all year long. Yeah. So it's not a good year for trees.
That's awful.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, going on to a more positive note. Since our last chat, you've had a couple of new novels released. Miracle Man, The Rise of an Antichrist, from November last year. Winner of the Literary Titan Award. Tell us about this. Is this another apocalyptic story? Is it horror?
It is definitely horror. It sounds like it might be a thesis on Bible studies or something.
Yeah.
It is absolute horror. My usual thing when I'm writing is to take ordinary people and drop them in the middle of something.
Okay.
And this thing happens to them now. Now you get to watch them squirm for the rest of the book, try to survive, try to get out of it.
Yeah.
I wanted to go the other way and take a good, decent, kind man and turn him into a monster.
Yeah.
So it was as simple as giving him the gift of healing with a touch, so he can literally heal with a touch, and that sets him on a path. He starts to think of himself as being beyond human, because he's immortal basically, because he can heal with a touch, he can cure himself, he can literally live forever. So he starts to think of himself as a minor god. It grows and grows, and he sets himself on a course to tear down all the old gods and take the throne for himself.
Wow.
So he truly does become the most evil man on the planet, which was a lot of fun to write.
Sounds like. Is that an image that you created yourself? Was your hobbies behind you? It's doing the Christ-like pose?
No, that's the original artwork, but that is the work of Daniel Serra. He's one of my favorite artists, and I contacted him. We follow each other online. I contacted him and said, "Would you be interested in doing this?" He said, "Oh yeah, sure." I found out later that he also did covers for Clive Barker and Stephen King.
Wow.
So that's pretty good company.
Just a bit, yeah.
Yeah. And I like having the original. That's very cool.
Brilliant.
Okay, yeah. So your latest stage 3 novel, it's what's Delta Volume 5, a post-apocalyptic. I can't even say that word.
It's easy for you to say. I can't say it. I've been rehearsing it as well.
You know what? I'm going to skip that bit. Zombie Thriller is about to be released, isn't it? Now, all right, this is your 5th volume. Is this going to be the last volume in this great series?
No, absolutely not. Not unless I get hit by a bus tomorrow. I plan on keeping it going through the end of the alphabet. So one day, hopefully, if I live long enough, there will be a stage 3 Zulu. I love the idea. I love the idea of not just a long series, but having the last book come out 20 years from the first and having that much time elapse. So you get a real overall arc of the characters in the situation.
Is there a reason why you're using the Greek alphabet, the Greek phonetic letters, Delta, Alpha, Bravo, Delta? Why did you pick that particular alphabet?
That's a good question. I did a lot of debating at the time. Because once I called the first one stage 3 because that happened to be a line in the book and it really stuck out for me. As soon as I wrote that line, I thought, oh, there's my title. Yeah. So then what do? I can't do stage 4 because people are going to say we're stage 1 and we're stage 2. And besides which, stage 3 is like the final stage of the virus, so there can't be a stage 4.
Okay.
So there was a whole lot of internal debate, and ultimately, what settled it was Sarah, the main character in Alpha. She christened. See, there are 2 types of zombies in these books. Yeah. There's the living ones that are just have become feral, and all they know is to hunt humans, and the other ones are your sort of classic dead zombies. She was a nurse. A doctor had made a report about one of these sort of brain dead, wild, crazy people, and he called the stage acute lack of frontal lobe activity, shortened to alpha. So she started calling them alphas. And I think that's what decided that it was going to be about alphas.
Okay.
So are all these books going to be, are they standalone, or does the reader need to read them in the right order? Or can you just pick one up?
Well, they do all work as standalones, and someone can pick up any one of them. And I give a little bit of an intro through the first, couple of chapters so that, you're not lost, who the characters are and what the situation is. Yeah. But they are much better when starting at the beginning and carrying the story through, because the characters do change. The characters evolve. Some characters come, some characters go. So it does mean a lot more if you read them in order. But you don't
Okay,
have to.
fair enough. Yeah, yeah. So on your website, on your blog page, it's an excellent website, by the way.
Thank you.
It says that you owe your career to Stephen King. Tell me more. Tell us more. Tell us more.
Well, no, I never met him.
Unfortunately, yeah.
When I was a kid, I read everything, mostly science fiction and horror. And at the time, horror was Poe, H.G. Wells, that sort of thing, Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Then along came Stephen King when I was early teens, so very impressionable. And here's a guy who didn't use Gothic castles. He didn't, have to have the Scottish Moors involved in the story. He just had ordinary people sitting around the table, and then boom, this thing happens. And that, to me, like, he wasn't the first to do that, but he was the first I had read. And that, to me, was a real game changer. The fact that horror could now be anything. You could be driving your car and boom, horror story. So I believe I can literally turn any situation into a horror story. And it's because of him that my eyes were opened. And they probably would have been eventually, but I was so impressionable then, and I had so many good ideas then, that it really inspired me to follow in his footsteps.
I've got a favorite Stephen King novel, Ken.
Well, it's got to be the first one, Salem's Lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's the one that really did it for me.
Yeah.
When that first came out, it was astounding to me. That, I mean, it's even got a vampire and it's not in a castle. How do you do that? So it was really, I mean, no pun intended, but it was very novel to me. That
Yeah.
it's what he could do.
The
So
master.
Yeah. So he was a real inspiration.
Is that the television series? Did that spook you a bit, Ken? Salem's Lot.
I never saw it.
No.
So I was afraid it was going to ruin the book.
It's
so I never saw it. Isn't that bad?
No, I think to be honest, I think it's the scariest television series I've ever seen. Even now,
Oh, really?
we've mentioned Salem's Lot in quite a few chats that we've had recently, and I've still got this image.
We have, yeah.
This the dead teenager knocking on the bedroom floor, sort of floating in the air, knocking on his friend's window over nighttime. That image is horrible.
I remember that
worth watching. David Soul.
Well, I will binge it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely worth a watch.
Yeah. How old was that? It was just last year, wasn't it?
No, back in the 80s, I think the original one.
Oh, heavens.
Yeah,
Oh.
late 80s, I think. David Jason and what's his name? James Mason, the English actor's in there. He sort of puts the master vampire in his coffin thing and looks after him.
Yeah.
Definitely worth a watch. I don't know about a remake. I'm going to look for that myself, though. Now you mention it.
Yeah, I thought there was a remake. I really did.
Yeah.
I thought that's what you were talking about.
No, the first one. Oh. You work with the hugely talented Eva Lancaster.
Yes,
she
sir.
does the covers, the animations for your book.
Yeah.
What services does she provide?
Basically everything. I write the book and send it to her, and she formats. I go through it many times, so there's no editing that needs to be done, but she will catch mistakes along the way because no one's perfect. She builds a really good looking book. Her books are truly better looking than ones on bookshelves. So I don't know what her secret is, but she's fantastic at that. She will usually do the covers. She's done all the covers except Miracle Man. And she does great. I love those covers. She sends me a few and I'm floored. I don't know which one to pick because they're all so good. Then she markets. And that's, of course, the most important thing. And I suck at marketing. I can tweet, I can retweet my head off, but actual marketing is her purview. So she really does everything. I write it. She does everything. She creates all the Twitter ads, all the Facebook stuff. And then she, sends them to me and whatnot. So she really is truly indispensable.
The book Khaleesi, I think, is an acronym or a part of that Eva uses.
Yeah, that's right. The book Khaleesi.
Yeah. Okay.
What's your writing routine, Ken? Anyway, do you use a notebook and pen? Do you take notes, or do you just sit in a room and just decide to write and do X amount of 1,000 words a day, or how do you? What's your method?
I'm fortunate that I'm a full-time writer, so I will write whenever I feel like it. I don't make notes beforehand. Everything's in my head. And going into a story, I know sort of I know where I'm going for that chapter. I don't necessarily know how I'm going to get from point A to point B. So I can't outline, so I don't take notes. And I sit when I want to write. I just sit, reread the last chapter I did, edit along the way, and that gets me fully into the story. And then I can sit there for hours and just bang things out. As for notes, I do take notes as I write, because it's hard to keep all the characters straight, and place names, and how far is it from this city to that city, and just all the little minor details. So I have a notepad for every book I've ever written, and I write until I'm done, until the chapter's done, or until the phone rings or what have you. I have the best possible situation. I write when I want to, and I stop when I want to.
Ken, I was going to ask you about why horror as a genre for writing. But before I mention it, I'm just looking at the awards behind you and the gongs. You've had quite a few awards for your writing. Which to you give you the most sort of satisfaction?
It's always the most recent one. Yeah, so the literary award for Miracle Man, Literary Titan Award.
Yeah,
that meant a lot, because Miracle Man had just come out. So that and it's it's the newest book, so it's my baby.
Yeah.
The next one will be my baby, and that will be my favorite, and the next award will be my favorite. But I've won quite a few, and it's never not thrilling. And it just, for a writer to have someone say, yeah, your stuff is actually good. It doesn't have to be the best, but your stuff is actually worth reading. That's incredible for a writer.
Yeah.
So
I can only agree. Yeah. Go back then. Why write horror? Is this, you mentioned that Stephen King being an early influence on your reading. Is that why you chose horror as your genre for writing? Is this what you read mainly?
Yeah, he's not the reason I chose to read horror.
Okay.
I went from really science fiction to horror. Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't seem like a natural segue, but it's just what happened. So around 11 or 12, I started reading horror pretty much exclusively. And I don't know, I've said this before, that humans are pretty much hardwired to feel fear. It was our first emotion. The guy who wasn't afraid of that dark shadow in the woods was probably not going to stick around for a while. So, it's such a basic thing with humans that if I can write a good scary story, it will stick with someone far longer than a gothic romance or something like that. So it's very in your face, I guess.
Yeah.
I like the idea of people. I like the idea of people thinking about, this horrible thing, and sort of staying with them for a while. It's just I don't know. And besides which, if I like reading it, what else am I going to write?
Yeah, true. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. Oh, you mentioned before about even social media platforms. I mean, you have got a big following on Twitter, but do you use other platforms as well, or do you leave everything to Eva, or do you dabble in a bit of everything?
No, I have Facebook. I'm hardly ever on Facebook, but I will get on once in a while and post a few things, share a few things. Twitter.
Yeah.
With Twitter, Eva makes all the graphics, but I will spend probably a couple hours a day on Twitter, just sharing other people's stuff and connecting and that sort of thing. Because it really is a writer's community, a writing community. I know so many authors and so many cover artists and proofreaders and whatnot. It is a real family.
Okay.
Yeah, I must admit, just trolling through Twitter, the last 2 days I've just been having a little look through, and authors, cover writers, producers, it's in a lot. It's so orientated around that, isn't it? And I'm thinking, where does all these other genres of of things that are around? But it is mainly authors, or seems to be. Yeah.
Well, yeah, my circle certainly. Maybe it's just because that's what we are looking for.
Yeah, it's probably
So,
what I look for. Yeah, or
yeah, like
it's the circle you're in, and your followers are authors, so you probably generally pick up authors as well, don't you? It's the
yeah,
algorithms, isn't it? I suppose.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly right. Yeah, exactly right.
yeah.
What's really funny is after Miracle Man came out, it is not a religious book, but I had so many religious people following me after that.
Yeah.
There was
Oh, wow.
so many devout Christians.
Yeah.
They figured I was one of them or something. I don't have a religious bone in my body, but sure, follow them. You might not want to read the book, but sure, follow them.
Interesting you should say that, actually, because over the last few days, I seem to have picked up a few more of them, and I don't know why. And I'm trying to work out why. And I'm looking at authors and this. I must have picked a book with a Christian theme of something, and I've liked something and commented in someone's post, and the next thing I've got ding 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 ding. I'm like, oh, where have all these come from? Not that I'm complaining, like, you know.
Okay, Cam, we mentioned the original artwork for the Miracle Man and the awards behind you. What's this fella on your lower left-hand side, the skeleton head? Has that got any particular meaning?
Yeah.
That thing, yeah.
That's
Glow in the
Eric.
dark.
That's Eric the Head.
Love it.
The eyes do light up, but I have to fix it first. There was a bar in town, a pub in town. It was called the Storm Crow, and it was known as the Nerd Bar. All the walls were covered with science fiction stuff, horror stuff, medieval stuff, and they couldn't survive COVID, the shutdown. So they auctioned off all their stuff and gave the money to the staff, which I thought was great. So I had to get in on that. So I got Eric, and I got one other thing. Oh, this thing right here. Can you see that?
Not really. Oh, no, we can now, yeah. What is that, like looks like
a
some
little
kind of Viking mask with a
Yeah,
horn.
I think of it more like a sort of Conan the Destroyer kind of hat.
Oh, yeah,
but yeah.
Cool.
So it was mostly to help the staff.
Okay.
It worked for them. It worked for me too.
Yeah. Last time we chatted, Ken, there was no news of any television or film deal. Has anything changed? Is anything possible there, do you think?
Nothing's changed yet, and believe me, the world will know when it does. They will hear me screaming, shouting. Yeah, I'm not really concentrating on that. I do want to do a screenplay of one of my books. I haven't gotten around to it. As previously stated, I'm really lazy. But yeah, I mean, now is not the time because there's a writer's strike, so I wouldn't be able to submit anything, or I'd be, at odds with the union. But yeah, there will come a day when I will make a push, when the time is right.
Okay.
So, question from me about a new writer comes on the scene and asks you for advice. So, what advice would you give to an aspiring novelist?
I always say, write your way, write your story, listen to others, maybe get some good advice, cherry pick, this advice here, that advice there, but mostly just be yourself, incorporate that advice into yourself, but just write in your own voice, because no one else is going to tell your story your way. So don't try to copy another writer. Just, sit, write. You might think it's crap. Someone on the other side of the planet might be waiting for that book. It might be the best thing they've ever read. So just write your story.
Okay. Yeah. And what about just touching on publishers? We speak to so many authors who struggle to even get a publisher. Did you find the same, or did you get a publisher fairly quick?
Well, I wrote a book before stage 3. And it absolutely sucked. So I had sent that one around to a bunch of agents. No one wanted it. I decided, it's not good enough. So I threw it away, and I wrote stage 3. And instead of going through agents to try to get that big New York deal, which is like basically 1 in a million, I picked the top independent publishers. And at that point, Severed Press was the top horror publisher, and they probably still are. They're awesome. They picked up They picked up stage 3 within a week and a half after submitting it. They were the first ones I submitted it to. They picked it up. They also picked up Alpha, which was the second book.
Yeah.
And then around, they had it for a few years. They had them for a few years. Then around the end of 2020, I decided I had self-published a few books by then. And I really, really enjoyed it. I really liked the control. I can raise the price, I can lower the price, I can edit whenever I want. I found one word wrong, I can go back in and change it. No publisher is going to do that. So I bought back the publishing rights for the first 2 books. So now I own the rights to everything. So I am full indie and I control everything. And immediately I made stage 3 permanently free on Amazon. So anyone, anytime can download stage 3. And again, what publisher is
interesting, huh? Yeah.
You know, no publisher in the world is going to.
No, that's it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's a good angle, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite zombie horror film?
Ooh, that's a good question. I love the old Romero stuff because that's classic, right?
Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah. Because that's the original.
Yeah.
You know, they've changed so much. But I also loved 28 Days Later.
Oh yeah.
Because it was so different.
Yeah.
And I think that combination is why I have 2 different types of zombies in my books. You know, there's the living, insane wild animal that wants to eat you, and then there's the dead body that is being steered around by the virus. Yeah. So yeah, the fast ones are scary. Yeah. The slow ones are creepy scary. So you're all covered.
Okay. No, I have to agree. I agree with you, Giorgio Romani. The best ones for me, definitely the original. Yeah. But I say time's caught up with us. It's been an absolute delight chatting with you. Time's disappeared as it normally does with a good chat. But let's keep in touch as we have been on Twitter.
Yeah, it was great to be here, Terry. I'll talk to you guys anytime. Steve, it's great to talk to you. Finally.
Yeah, and you can finally get to meet you after all this. Well, for 2 years I think it is now, and I've missed the last 2, haven't I? But hey ho, yeah, we got there.
Well, listen, Terry has a smartwatch he's not using. Maybe he'll lend it to you.
I don't know about that. My son will have a couple. I just need to mention Michelle Cobbett. We talk to Michelle every month. She does like a literary review. And she's been asking us for ages, when are you going to talk to Ken again? Because I think she's going to do a review of one of your books as well.
She's awesome. She's a good friend. Yeah.
But Ken, it's been great to talk to you again. Cheers for now.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ken.
Thank you very much, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Cheers, Ken.
Yeah, see you later.